Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. I am going to read you the Daily Beast article. Hit subscribe. This is a truly, truly amazing story. And I'm going to read you this Daily Beast article. Actually, it's in the description section of this live stream. So go to the description section in the upload if you want to read the actual article that talks about Trump suing Mary Trump and the New York Times for a minimum of $100,000. And I will read this right now. Hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to my stock market crash channel. The link will be below in the pinned comment. If you type in stock market crash, which unfortunately is going to happen. I mean, we saw it yesterday, the beginning of a catastrophic stock market crash. Type in stock market crash on YouTube. My other channel of 17,000 subs literally pops up. So I've been predicting this. We saw I was right yesterday. And I am one of the only people, if not the only person in politics, in the sphere of politics. There are people in the financial world obviously talking about this, but in the sphere of politics, I've been talking about this for months. And it's taking place, and I'm the only one who's predicted this. But let's just read the Daily Beast article. So subscribe to this channel, subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. Former President Donald Trump has filed a lawsuit against the New York Times, 3 of its reporters and his niece, claiming they hatched an, quote, insidious plot to obtain his private records for a story about his tax history. By the way, to my super chat, I can't do this without you, so thank you so much for your generosity. If you want to talk about this story or the impending stock market crash or the Durham probe, anything via super chat, your support is greatly appreciated. I can't do this without you. The lawsuit, which was filed Tuesday in New York, alleges that the newspaper convinced Mary Trump to, quote, smuggle records out of her attorney's office and turn them over to the Times, despite her having signed a confidentiality agreement. The suit demands damages, quote, in an amount to be determined at trial, but believed to be no less than $100 million. An amount to be determined at trial, but no less than $100 million. An amount to be determined at trial, but no less than $100 million. From both Mary Trump and the Times. Now, this is important, okay? She admitted to being the source of the tax story, essentially, from what I can read here, essentially admitting that she actually, almost certainly, engaged in illegal behavior because she had signed a confidentiality agreement. So she had signed a confidentiality agreement pertaining to the records that she had for her uncle. So she was bound by a confidentiality agreement not to disclose information, personal information, obviously private personal information that was deemed confidential within the contract that she signed. So she admitted to being the source, and we'll get to that right now. So the Daily Beast editor, so while Times reporters David Barstow, Susanne Craig, and Russ Buettner, who won a Pulitzer Prize for Explanatory Reporting in 2019 for their reporting on the former president's taxes, weren't party to the agreement Mary Trump signed, the suit cites Mary Trump's interview with Molly Jong-Fast on the Daily Beast's The New Abnormal podcast to try and make the case that, quote, their collective efforts in tortiously breaching and or interfering with his contractual rights and otherwise maliciously conspiring against him, make them liable as well. Quoting the following exchange, Molly Jong-Fast, quote, "You were ultimately the source for the tax story." Mary Trump, quote, I'm actually really proud of that, but I have to be honest with you, I didn't even remember I had the confidential records, in brackets. It's entirely down to the brilliant Susanne Craig, for one, reminding me that I had them, and two, so effectively and tenaciously trying to convince. I mean, it took her months before I did, so it's entirely down to her. Quote, "I think he's a F, and you know what, loser, and he is going to throw anything against the wall he can," said Mary Trump of her uncle's new suit. Quote, "It's desperation. The walls are closing in, and he is throwing anything against the wall that will stick. As is always the case with Donald, he'll try and change the subject." The Times did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the suit. This is a developing story. The Daily Beast link is below in the description section. I'm reading from the Daily Beast. Okay. If Mary Trump, along with the help of others, breached a contract that she signed, they're all up the creek without a paddle. If Mary Trump breached a contract. So I don't know what the confidentiality agreement states. I don't know what the I'm not an attorney, but I do understand a lot about confidentiality agreements. I've helped write them. I understand what they're about. And if she knew what she was doing, so she kind of alluded to having to be convinced, that she was convinced that she was convinced to give information about her uncle and his taxes, financial information that's covered under a confidentiality agreement. She was convinced to actually give that to the press or to the New York Times. Okay? So this is terrible news for Mary Trump, because you're all over, like, it's not just about the possibility that she breached a confidentiality agreement. She's all over in the news every single day telling the world how much contempt she has for Trump. Okay? So you know there's malice or malicious intent. There's an intent to harm Trump, or there's an intent to paint him in a negative light. So, okay, she has a new book about her uncle. This is interesting. Zeldin calls for Justice Department an investigation into president's leak of tax return information. So, Lee Zeldin could have information about Miss Trump, or Mrs. Trump, that might not be flattering. So the issue is, how do you get Trump's tax returns before the IRS gives, before the United States government is forced to give the tax returns to New York prosecutors. And New York prosecutors have had the tax returns since February. They found nothing. They haven't indicted or charged Trump because, well, that's just the way it works. They don't have anything on Trump. So that's the way things work. It's yell at the top of your lungs that Trump committed some kind of crime. Okay. And then once you can't find any information or can't charge him on a crime, then you just move on to the next apoplectic, hysterical allegation against him. They couldn't charge him with Trump Russia. They couldn't charge him with pressuring Zelensky or indicting him on that. They couldn't indict him on January. They can't indict him or charge him on his tax returns. They can't do anything. So here's a transcript. Rachel Maddow with Mary Trump. Let's see. Trump Organization's CFO is accused of avoiding taxes with perks. Okay, interview with Mary Trump. And those documents were not just the source of a remarkable award-winning journalism, they also became the basis of a lawsuit that Mary Trump launched against her uncle, Donald Trump, in which she alleges he cheated her out of tens of millions of dollars in family assets that were otherwise rightfully hers. Okay? So in the book, Mary Trump revealed that she was the one who had access to those documents. It says it right here. I mean, there's no doubt that she... Ultimately, the Times turned those into several thousand-word investigations. Well, I mean, and they're not really investigations. It's like gossip and hearsay. You're talking about taking things out of context. They're little snippets of what possibly could be his tax returns that were then obsessed over by the New York Times. And, Trump didn't pay any taxes. Like, well, you don't have his tax returns. You don't even know what's going on. But here... ultimately, the Times, this is MSNBC in July of this year. Ultimately, the Times turned those into several thousand-word investigations showing how for years Trump and his family participated in tax schemes and in some instances what appeared to be outright... Okay, so again, in some instances... Okay, these are New York Times journalists that are lifelong Democrats. They're not accountants. And they have no right. They didn't do this with Hunter Biden's emails that showed where he literally says, "I give 10% to the big man," alluding to his father. But here, schemes that save them potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. That is for the government to investigate. See, they just try to throw everything at Trump on the wall and see what sticks. That's all they want to do, is throw everything out at Trump on the wall and see what sticks. It was kind of a mystery when the first part of the story broke, how the reporters from the Times could have possibly gotten their hands on so many personal financial documents. It was a mystery until this book came out. It was written by Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump, and in the book, Mary Trump revealed that she was the one who had access to those documents, and she had turned them over to the reporters at the New York Times. Why would you do that if these are confidential documents? You're liable for trying to ruin somebody, if anything, in the court of public opinion. And you're bragging about it. Like, if you devote your life to trying to ruin somebody, whether it's a moment or a lifetime, the karma, the negative karma, the negative energy is going to ruin you. The negativity that you inflict upon others will envelop you, and you will suffer. Okay? When you try desperately, when the goal of your actions is to hurt somebody and to harm someone because you despise them, and you act out of malice, and you act out of contempt, and you have all this negative energy that you're, being fueled by, you're the one who will then suffer. It'll all come back to you. And that's why you have Andrew Cuomo, Juicy Smollett, Eric Schneiderman, Michael Avenatti, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page. You have all these, Kevin Kleinsmith, Sussman, all of these people who devoted their lives for a moment or a year or 2 years to trying to take down Trump. The white whale of Democratic politics. And then you get indicted. Okay? When they were touching themselves in ecstasy, with Papadopoulos, getting set up and framed, nobody was, Michael Flynn getting set up and framed, nobody was ever indicted on working with Russia. They literally fabricated the story and pretended that intel operatives were apolitical and didn't have a political agenda and motive. So Mary Trump might be saying, well, I already spoke to my lawyer, and I wrote a book about it, so of course I gave the documents. Who cares? This was public record knowledge, and it was a government investigation. Sorry, you're not BuzzFeed, and this isn't the Steele dossier. That's how they get away with everything. That's how BuzzFeed got away with their lawsuit. They were sued for defamation, and they got away with it by saying, well, it was a government investigation, which was true. It was a government investigation. It was public. There hadn't been a government investigation yet by the time Mary Trump had given the information to the New York Times, from my understanding of things. And those documents were not just the source of remarkable award-winning journalism. Nobody cares about Trump's nobody cares about the journalists who pretended they were accountants at the New York Times. Of course you're going to win it. Of course you're going to win a Pulitzer, just like Andrew Cuomo won an Emmy for putting infected people in nursing homes. Are you kidding me? A Pulitzer now is like an Emmy from... a Pulitzer now is like an Emmy that Andrew Cuomo received for daytime for daytime television. And in the book, Mary Trump revealed that she was the one who had access to those documents. And she then turned them over to the reporters of the New York Times. And those documents were not just the source of remarkable award-winning journalism. They also became the basis of a lawsuit that Mary Trump launched against her uncle, Donald Trump, in which she alleges he cheated her out of tens of millions of dollars in the Trump family assets that were rightfully hers. Okay. Yeah, so... The lawsuit, of course, is now just one item in a growing list of legal woes. He doesn't have legal woes. He's a billionaire. That's what these people think, that they're ruining Trump's life. He doesn't really care. He eats this up for breakfast. The difference between Trump and the Clintons is that the Clintons don't have the money. They have the money, but they don't they have political connections that, whether it's James Comey, that they get hooked up through their connections. With James Comey saying, well, Clinton didn't mean to have top secret intelligence on private servers. Trump doesn't have the political connections. Trump has the truth on his side. They didn't get him for Trump Russia because they fabricated that. They didn't get him for pressuring Zelensky because it was all political. And they had no direct evidence of anything. They didn't indict him or charge him for Trump Russia, Zelensky, January, his tax returns. They haven't indicted or charged Trump, and it's not because of his political connections protecting him. It's because they don't have anything on him. They have nothing on Trump. They have absolutely nothing on Trump except conjecture, innuendo, hearsay, gossip, apoplectic, hysterical allegations that are always baseless because they think Trump is capable of anything. If Halley's Comet was redirected towards Earth, it's Trump's fault somehow. somehow it'd be Trump's fault. And we need a special counsel. They lied for 5 years about Trump. And you have people who try to leech off of that zeitgeist. You have people who try to, just siphon as much, money. I don't know. The wonderful, apoplectic, morally superior liberals who view Trump as this bully are the biggest bullies of all time. Okay? The Daily Beast published a hit piece on me when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. What was my sin when I was on the left before I became a voter and supporter of President Trump? Because I wanted the Doha Agreement, which Biden completely botched and failed at. The Doha Agreement, Trump single-handedly reversed U.S. foreign policy away from the Lincoln Project people that vote Democrat. I was hoping that a person like Bernie Sanders would engage in Trump's foreign policy, which was to bring Americans home, which should have happened by May 1st. The Doha Agreement called for January, February, March, April, all of every American, every Afghan who I believe should be citizens, because if you helped us risk your life, I believe you should be a citizen, to be here, home, in America by May 1st. Biden arbitrarily moved it past May 1st for no reason at all other than to spite Trump. But there's other reasons I went from Bernie to Trump also. But my only sin, you have to understand, I was on the left. The Daily Beast is a left-leaning publication. My only sin was that I was willing to vote for Bernie Sanders or not vote Democrat if he was cheated, which he was, which Debbie Wasserman Schultz eventually was forced to resign in disgrace because the DNC email showed that they cheated Bernie Sanders in their own primary. But this quote-unquote journalist, quote-unquote, pitched a story, tried to reach out to me, almost certainly would have distorted anything I told him. I never spoke to him because I knew that was his goal. And the most malicious and petulant and dishonorable and inaccurate and really just despicable manner wrote a hit piece on me to try to disparage me and silence me because my writing in the Hill, the Huffington Post, and Salon went viral and was given a stamp of approval. Every article that went viral in 2015 and 2016 went through editors, some of whom eventually worked at the Daily Beast years later. So you're talking about, that's the publication. Okay? They will disparage and try to silence anybody that they feel, left or right, that they feel does not promote the Democratic Party's vantage point. It's not just the Daily Beast. There's BuzzFeed. There's a million other. There's like a whole propaganda machine. That's how they do things. They did it to Jimmy Dore worse than me. Much worse than me. So that's how they do things. If you don't fall into the vote blue no matter who, you're a bad human being who must be silenced. And, that's the way the left works. But, again, if you were coming from a place of truth, it only elevates your voice. It only elevates your voice. You have a right as an American not to vote Democrat. You have a right as an American. 73 million Americans voted for Trump, okay? Because he did good things. We're on the brink of a stock market crash. We have a labor shortage, unemployment claims up, more margin debt than ever in history. We have inflation that will turn to stagflation. We have the CPI, Producer Price Index, the Baltic Dry Shipping Index, every economic indicator pointing to an eventual economic collapse, not a recovery. GDP being revised downwards. 1 out of every $5 through quantitative easing being pumped into the economy through the Federal Reserve, which inflation, is through the roof. We have France, they said Trump was not good to our allies. France recalled its ambassador from this. When was the last time France recalled an ambassador? Thanks, Biden and Blinken. Bumbling Blinken. You couldn't let them just sell submarines to the Australians. Yeah, you had to take the Australian submarine deal away from the French. Macron didn't pull his ambassador when Trump was president. Ben A. my truck wouldn't start. I blame Trump. Keep up the great reporting, AJ. Make them squirm. Thank you, Ben A. Thank you. Exactly. If I stub my toe, it's Trump's fault. Ben, thank you so very, very much. Ben, thank you. So that's the situation. And inadvertently, Mary Trump, in that publication, spilled the beans and said, oh, yeah, it was me. But see, again, she's probably going to say it was public knowledge. She's probably going to say it was, I don't know, that she was some kind of whistleblower or that the documents, she owned the documents, that they weren't an example of any breach of contract. Who knows? All I know is that when you try to devote your life, look, where's Michael Avenatti right now? He's in prison because he thought that he was on CNN, MSNBC hundreds of times, and eventually, I don't know how you extort Nike from working alongside everyone trying to take down Trump, but look where he's at. Did he ever think like Mary Trump could end up the same way? Or I guess this isn't a criminal issue, but did Michael Avenatti or Andrew Cuomo or Eric Schneiderman, did they ever think they would have to be and Ben A., thank you so very much to my super chat. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. Did they ever think that they would meet a certain fate? Spewing contempt for Trump is not a moral endeavor. There's nothing moral about spewing contempt for Trump. There's nothing moral. Freedom! All you do is just, freedom, I hope all is well. Everybody here I believe it's just sometimes that happens. But it's the icon right next to the emoji on the bottom, right underneath the message. Freedom, hope all is well. But joining us now, Donald Trump's niece, Mary Trump. Mary Trump, it's great to see you. It's been too long. Thank you so much for coming back. It's great to be here, Rachel. I'm so pleased that you asked me. So look at the nasty, they're wallowing in this kind of excrement. Oh, so good to see you. Please tell the world how much you dislike your uncle. Oh, I can't wait to tell you how much I dislike a family member. Hopefully all of the resistance will enjoy that one of Trump's own family members doesn't like him. Well, look at Trump's family. They all love him. The mark of a man, in my view, is if you have children that love you. And so all of his children, Donald Trump, Ivanka, Eric Trump Jr., his other children, they all love him. They all love him. And they don't have like narcotics issues and, all these problems that Hunter has. Not to say that, that could happen to any family. But imagine the schadenfreude they'd have if you had Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. with those videos and those photos. Oh, they keep those under wraps. You better believe the Daily Beast isn't going to publish any of Hunter's photos without any clothes on, all of that stuff. You better believe that BuzzFeed and the New York Times aren't going to win any Pulitzer Prizes for their investigative journalism on Hunter, because they work to prop up one political party. Journalism does not exist anymore. It's public relations. The days of Dan Rather has sold his soul to one political side, but David Brinkley, Peter Jennings, Sam Donaldson, Ted Koppel, the older Washington Post and New York Times writers and journalists in the 80s and 90s, and 70s, they focused on journalism primarily. Maybe there was a liberal bias, tiny bit. But the New York Times and the Washington Post in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s was more of, they would break a Watergate, but it was not about politics. And they would, break the Iran-Contra or talk about it, or Jimmy Carter, there's a whole bunch of things that took place. Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, they would focus on stories, and they would talk about stories. Chrissy Beans, thank you. Hello. The Washington Post and the New York Times were completely different 20 years ago, even 10 years ago. 2016 is when journalism and the world changed. 2016, everything changed. Every single thing changed. Everything. Life changed. You didn't have Major League Baseball moving an all-star game because of a law that's absolutely constitutional. You don't like it, then make sure that the Georgia House of Representatives and Senate are Democrat. But everything now is leveled against Trump. He's become this monster. They never gave him a chance. They twisted all of his words. He also never, there's so many things that he never said that they twisted, and anything that they think he alluded to, he then said in their book. It is the most unfair. See, they think that they're bullying Trump, but they don't realize that they're the real bullies. They don't realize, the way the left works is the following. They will come up with some kind of ideal. They'll have some kind, whether it's Medicare for all, or opposing Trump, or, When Trump was in office, they cared so much about a whole bunch of topics. When he left office, suddenly you won't hear a word. You won't hear the word about the plight of immigrants. You won't hear a word about Americans left behind in Afghanistan. You won't hear a word about a whole bunch of things. Because generally, anything that harms mashed potato brains Biden politically is either a lie by omission, or they'll just sweep it under the rug. They don't want to report on anything negative that might harm the Democratic Party. So if it's Hunter, I mean, you have to understand when he talked about like a really nasty statement, with his attorney in a time when you get canceled. Okay, he's talking about nasty things with his attorney. I won't even get into it. Using the most offensive word in the English dictionary and using really nasty kind of, will you give me Hennessy rates? It's nasty. It's like low class, nasty type of thing. And this is a Democrat. And of course he gets away with it. He gets away with it because he's a Democrat, so there's no outrage. What they do is they elevate emotions when it suits them, and they suppress emotions and outrage when it suits them. And Mary Trump, it's never good. Look. That's why when Kinzinger said, my family wrote me a letter, it's like, well, everyone who likes Trump has had friends disown them. Lifelong friends or family, decades, 30, 40-year bonds, simply because you like Trump, were severed by the apoplectic, morally superior liberal, not by you. So they're the ones with the problem, not you. You have a right to vote Green Party, Trump, whatever you want to do. That's your right as a human being. Okay? But they're the ones who, demanded your allegiance, demanded your obedience. And it became this kind of, moral crusade. So when they're disparaging and trying to harm Trump, when they're saying hashtag wrong Trump, when his brother passed away, these people are, despicable. They're the ones who are the bullies. They're the ones who have turned the country. When they say, well, the country's divided, no, it was people who didn't like Trump who became even more apoplectic than ever. And don't debate them. If somebody has derangement issues pertaining to Trump, don't debate them ever. It doesn't ever work out. It will never, ever, ever work out. Because they will just then, if you say, well, why wasn't he charged? You wait, he'll be charged. He works with Russia. It's like they get enraged like the little monster in Lord of the Rings. Precious. So, but I mean, exactly, D. Gray, exactly. When Rush Limbaugh passed away, they said, oh, he used this word. That word, if you watch late night Johnny Carson and Arsenio Hall and 80s and 90s, that, or Don Rickles, that word, I won't use it, but that word was used either in a joking manner or in a conversational manner. The world was different, and so they say, oh, he's in hell now because he used a word describing a person who is promiscuous. And it's like, well, no, that, you know what, that you're talking about all of these atrocities taking place now, linked to Democrats. Well, we won't even get into the Arizona state senator, Democrat in Arizona, and what he was charged with, because we can't because of YouTube policies. Okay, so it's like all right. You look, ladies and gentlemen, at how they engage in this kind of endless gossip and hearsay. a book from Bob Woodward about Trump is now a serious it's almost as if like an event took place. So gossip and hearsay in a book, because it's written about Trump, to Democrats and morally superior, almost always apoplectic liberals who despise Trump with every fiber of their being, say, oh, this almost certainly happened, so let's treat it as if it did happen. But if the same accusations were made in a book about Biden or any Democrat, they would say it's baseless. Where's the evidence? We demand evidence. There's no such thing as evidence with Trump, but you better have categorical proof, absolute categorical proof that Biden did this or that. And if you don't, oh my God, social media algorithms. Politico just today confirmed that Hunter's laptop was almost certainly genuine. We knew that. We already knew that. You know, it's not like we didn't know that. It's not like we didn't know that. But I mean, you got to understand the mentality of Democrats is if a comet or meteor, Jesse, hello. If a comet or meteor was descending towards the planet and ICBMs were flying above, about to descend, nuclear ICBMs, and a homeless guy jumped on your car and then was, like what happens in Democratic-run cities, taking a giant dump as you're driving. And you happen to be driving and you're on the deck of the Titanic while all of this is happening, and you're about to hit an iceberg. While the Independence Day, extraterrestrial ship is about to crash on the Titanic, while all of this is happening at once. The apoplectic liberal right next to you would say, at least Trump is not in office. At least he's not in office. The world, even though it's ending, is a better place because they don't care. That their whole life is Trump is the worst person of all time. And that's it. That's how they roll. That's it. But I think it was Voltaire or Rousseau who said, you diss me, you diss yourself. And that's what happens when they try to diss Trump, they diss themselves. When they go after Trump, they're actually going after themselves. It's like this existential karma that it just doesn't work out. Roger Rabbit! Thank you, Goodman. Seriously. That's the extent that I've been allowed to say here tonight without being told that my message is hit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Roger Rabbit. I'm sorry. You know what? I mean, same with me. That's why I'm always so long-winded. Thank you so very much, Roger Rabbit. I apologize. It's for the suppression of speech is not me. It's 98% YouTube. Thank you so very much, Ben. Roger Rabbit. Thank you. You look at what they say. We won't get into it, but there's a really wonderful singer. She said something about her cousin. Okay, instead of leaving it at that, journalists went and tried to engage in the most unethical, deceitful, actually illegal activity. All because she expressed what her cousin went through. Okay. And she's obviously a world-renowned multi-millionaire. And if they do that they'll do that to anybody. If you don't fall in line, they want to crush you. And with Trump, he's the ultimate of not falling in line. Did he go overboard? Yes, sometimes. Yeah. I love Trump. But he goes overboard sometimes. He doesn't have to. He didn't have to go overboard. Okay. He doesn't have to He doesn't have to go overboard. Here and there. Is it good to defend yourself? Yes, but you can't go overboard. You can't give. His words are political fuel for Democrats. He gives them political momentum. Okay, so, Paul, thank you. So, yeah, you can't, listen, the way Twitter works, and that's why, thank God I don't have Twitter anymore, or Facebook. If you want to say that Trump had a personal relationship, a physical relationship with a Martian, and then had a baby out of wedlock with a Martian, that then, he then served as an actual Russian operative, and he and his Martian family lived in Russia, and you can make up anything about Trump, and it'll be fine. You better believe the algorithm on Twitter will not stop you. But if you dare say, when Hunter Biden, when that story came out, that, he left a laptop in a drunken stupor with incriminating emails, thank you for allowing us to meet your father, pay-to-play, quid pro quo, actual emails, they'll suspend the New York Post's account. They will suspend the New York Post's account. They are desperate. They're desperate to suppress any information that's detrimental to their side. And everybody knows it now. There's no doubt. Everybody knows that media is an extension of the Democratic Party. There's no doubt about that. And if you don't fall in line, they say elevate voices. They don't mean any of that. They mean elevate only voices that help them and stifle every voice, no matter who they are. And they'll take advantage of suffering, and they do that with every background. They will take. I wrote a Jerusalem Post article, opinion piece, on AOC utilizing a time period in history that she should never again utilize, where Yad Vashem told her to learn more about the topic. We'll leave it at that. You can go to hagoodman.com, and you could read my writing in the Jerusalem Post, the Huffington Post, Salon, The Hill, the Federalist, other publications. They don't want you to communicate. By the way, 2 channels, fantastic channels. Now, this doesn't mean that everything that is said I agree with, but a fantastic, amazing, enlightening, awesome channels. Young Ripper 59 and Papa Duck. If you're not subscribed to those channels and watching them, they're awesome. Awesome. They deserve millions of subs because they're able to truly address controversial topics from a vantage point of critical thinking, and they're awesome. There's a lot of great channels. Tim Pool's fantastic. I mean, there's so many wonderful channels, but Young Ripper 59 and Papa Duck. Subscribe to those channels. They're absolutely fantastic. But I mean, there's a lot of, look, thank God in less than a year, we'll have Trump Republicans take over the House, and hopefully they'll fight peacefully, and they'll oppose peacefully this suppression of thought. You cannot have suppression of thought in our country. It's not you can't have this suppression of thought. You cannot have this suppression of thought. You know, we're not benefiting as a society when algorithms are geared towards silencing one vantage point. We have the original sin last year, the original sin. We have what we've done to our country, $4.5 trillion spent in 1 year. $4.5 trillion spent in 1 year because of a choice. Don't say it's because of a crisis. Don't say it's because of a crisis. Don't say a stimulus was the repercussions of a crisis. It was a choice. You made a choice. You made a choice to shut down society. You made a choice. You could have done what Sweden did, but you made a choice. So now we have inflation, which will turn into stagflation, which is inflation plus anemic economic growth and joblessness and a high unemployment. We have high unemployment, over 5%. We have inflation, over 5%. We have the cost of living going up. Yes, Papa Duck's video. Yes. Yes. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Yes, he's awesome. He's awesome. Young Ripper 59 is awesome. They're both they're both two of the they're two of the most unique channels, especially in terms of critical thinking, in all of YouTube. And it's really interesting how it's just I'll say you gotta watch. Everybody has to subscribe because they're brilliant. They're both brilliant, really, really. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Thank you, Roger Rabbit, as always, for the kind words as well. When you in 1 year, and cancer and heart disease ended the lives of more Americans, but you downplayed, Democrats and the experts downplayed cancer and heart disease, and obsessed, in large part because it harmed Trump, blame Trump for everything, whereas they don't blame mashed potato brains for the lives lost under his watch. And now we have 1 out of every $5 pumped through quantitative easing from the Federal Reserve. Freedom autopsy! Term house losses. I don't know the individual. I can't say the individual ones, but I can say freedom. That the House will be Trump Republican. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. You know? It'll be Trump Republican, thank God. And this way, there will be an alternative to the one-party rule. We have one-party rule in this country. We have one-party rule, unfortunately. Freedom autopsy, thank you. I agree with you on that, Luke St. Martin. I agree with you on that. I agree with you. Who knows? Kinzinger also. I don't know. A lot of the Republicans in like blue states, who knows? Who knows? I mean, some of them might. Most never-Trumpers will be primaried out. So that's good. But we have a stock market crash on the horizon. It is going to be really, really bad. And Freedom and everybody here and Roger Rabbit and Ben, I don't want that to happen, but it's going to take place. It will be directly because of Democratic Party policies. Directly because of Democratic Party policies. If you type in stock market crash on YouTube, it's pretty cool because I'm not like really, I have relatively, relatively small or, moderate sized presence on YouTube. But if you type in, because this channel is 184,000, but my stock market crash channel is only 17,000, on its way to 18,000 now. But if you type in stock market crash, you'll actually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Today's video is sixth video in all of YouTube for stock market crash. Now, there's not many views, but I'm growing the channel. So I'll get like 1,000 or 2,000 views maximum for segments there. But it's unfortunately going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, where we have the worst combination of things taking place under Biden. We have a presidency with no vision, run by media, where media and Democrats take turns convincing one another that their vision or what their objectives should be met. So hit subscribe to, it's right here, I'll put it in the chat, the Stock Market Crash channel. But we have the market at a record high. It could reach even greater heights. Everyone on the planet knows it is going to, well, I should say, I'm predicting this, and if you really pay attention, you know that hedge funds are going to go under. They're going to go, Archegos already went under. Look up Archegos, Archegos. There were billions in derivative trades that nobody knew about because it was legal. Guess what? It is legal. Guess what? It is legal not to tell the SEC, if you're a hedge fund, how many billions of dollars you have in risky derivatives. Did you know this? Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling everyone this. The Financial Times and Barron's, Yahoo News, there's articles. It's legal. And these are loopholes. These are loopholes within the SEC, and we haven't even implemented the Dodd-Frank laws yet. Literally 11 years after they were passed in Congress. Literally, there are loopholes and laws pertaining to derivatives trades that allowed Archegos, the small hedge fund of $10 to $30 billion in assets, to go bankrupt and cause, in 1 week, less than a week, $10 billion in losses for banks. And then when the banks and the hedge funds give their risk exposure reports, their risk exposure to debt, okay? Their credit risk exposure. They don't put the hundreds of billions of dollars. They don't put the hundreds of billions of dollars in debt. They don't disclose that to the SEC because they don't have to, because a derivatives contract is a private contract. And it's a private contract. So debt exposure, credit risk exposure, they don't the analysis of how safe our banking system is flawed. Okay? And this is happening right in Biden's administration. Okay? And they're not, and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie and AOC aren't doing anything. They're not doing anything. And the system is going to tank yet again like '08. You're going to see hedge funds go under. You're going to see possible bank bailouts. And I talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, on the Stock Market Crash channel, and you know I harp about this on this channel. And when it happens, you'll have mashed potato brains, our beloved president, who will go on, hey man, come on man, hey, come on man, you gotta believe, man. Hey, stop selling, man. Come on, man, Wall Street traders. You know the deal. And you know the deal. You're talking about selling. Come on, man. Don't be like Gordon Gekko, man. I used to know Gordon Gekko, man. He was friends with Cornflakes, man. I showed him a thing or two. I said, come on, man. Gordon Gekko, man, stop that. Mashed potato out. And then they'll pull his microphone, and it'll be the same thing all over again. And then the French are upset, like, oh, you stole our submarine deal. They recalled their ambassador. When was the last time France recalled its ambassador? This is actually terrible. Mon Dieu. Hey, Biden, you stole our nuclear deal. Biden. We thought you were better than Trump. We were wrong. I mean, everything, like, if you're not messing up Afghanistan like Biden did, leaving the T-ban with $28 billion in weaponry, according to the Washington Post, probably more. You're, like, messing over the French. Okay? Ian! Given what's happening, bro. Thank you, Ian. I heard Australia is in trouble. I hope they are okay. Yeah. I hope so, too. God bless the people of Australia. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what to my Australian viewers in your lovely and beautiful country. What is happening? Ian, thank you so very much, Ian, as always. Thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough, Ian, for all your support, and you're just awesome. Thank you so much. What is happening to my Australian viewers? I love Australia. What's happening? My God. My God. I obviously can't get into it too much, but my God, Ian, thank you so very much. You know. I mean, there's so many Americans who are like, you know, if I ever had, like, so many Americans for years have been like secretly saying, well, if we ever had to leave the country for whatever reason, we'd go to Australia. Well, you've saved yourself from a whole bunch of Americans coming now to live there. This is like, God bless Australia, man. This is what's going on. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ian, thank you. It's like a dystopian nightmare, man. It's a dystopian nightmare. I don't understand. Of course, Scott Morrison, Father's Day trip. I mean, they all do the same thing. It's just unbelievable. Scott Morrison criticized for Father's Day. Well, that's nice. At least he can enjoy himself on Father's Day. Paul, what do you think of Scott Morrison? I mean, families are separated. He's flying. Are you serious? Are you serious, man? Come on, man. Come on, man, Scott Morrison, man. What are you flying around, man? BBC News, Scott Morrison, Australian PM, criticized for Father's Day trip amid you-know-what. Well, Australians cannot see family members. My God. It is the same thing all the time. They don't care or believe their own Bandini. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. My God. You know, the way you have to view politics is you cannot take it seriously. You can't take it seriously. You have to look at it as a morbid entertainment. There are channels on YouTube that you can see like a centipede battle a spider, or a tarantula battle a scorpion. It's actually kind of like depressing and sad. They're all trying to like leave the little cage. It's like really sad. Like, you think it'd be cool, like, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna watch a tarantula battle a scorpion. Yeah, man. But then you see it, and it's like there's a couple of pretty cool channels like Scorpion, Tarantula, go, and they're all trying to leave the cage, and then finally they're forced to like go at it. That's what politics is like, except with it's more peaceful actually with the scorpion and the tarantula. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for the kind words, everybody. Thank you to my super chat, Ian, everybody here. Thank you, as always. Ian, thank you, as always. My God, thank you. And let's just go a couple more minutes. Let's look at My favorite is, if there's an animal that describes me, it's those like little tiny green, like if you can like see these like little tiny, these like poisonous frogs. They're like ribbit, 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 and they're just like, you see the snakes like, ha, yeah, look at you, little frog, I'm gonna eat you for dinner. And then the snake like, opens up his mouth and like, ah, and they're like, oh, what? Oh my God, secreting solutions. Oh no. And they're like, ah, and the frog's like, ribbit, 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 ribbit. That's like me. Anybody who's tried to mess with me in media, it's like generally hasn't worked with, it has not at all worked out for them. And it's like, I stay in my own little lane, backed up by sources, reputable, fantastic sources. See, I just read from the Daily Beast, a Pulitzer Prize winning publication. Not really, but maybe. New York Times, Pulitzer Prize winning public. I always just stayed in my lane. I have my little stock market crash channel. Don't mess with me. And I have my H.A. Goodman channel. You could read my writing in the Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, other publications. You can see my debates. And just, I always stay in my lane. But then if I have to defend, I will. But generally, I don't really care about anybody else. See, but people like Mary Trump, their lives are devoted to, oh, look at me, I don't like Trump either. McGee, thank you. Let's see what, real quick, Trump, type in Trump. The CNN's always so hilarious. They're so running out of steam. You could see every article now is like, we really dodged a nightmare with Trump. Trump, he's thinking of doing the unthinkable again. Trump. It's like, really? Are you seeing what's going on? Because it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Okay? All right. Of course, no mention of the $100 million lawsuit, because why would you even mention that? It's like an amazing story. This story. The thing with whenever I reported on the Clintons, I never had contempt for them. Okay. I never made any moral judgments. Oh, that's one thing I liked about you, H.A. Batman. I never made any I just said, look, top secret intelligence on private servers can't happen. That's it. That's not legal. And then the rest of the world was, so what? But I never the way they view Trump was only contempt. I never had contempt or disdain. I never did. I voted for Bill Clinton, when I was younger. It was a phase, but I was actually an intern at the State Department while he was president. So there you go, a division of the State Department. Anyway, give me your thoughts below, ladies and gentlemen. Hit subscribe to this channel and the Stock Market Crash channel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Thank you, Freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for the kind words. Subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. Subscribe to this channel. To my super chat, thank you. God bless you all. Have a great evening. I'll be back tomorrow. Be here tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific for the late evening live stream. Be here tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific for the late evening live stream. Be here, as always, every night, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, tomorrow for the late evening live stream. I do it every night. Oh, I love the way that sounds. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow.